I think it's the relationship we have with brokers that are going to attract brokers to us. And, everybody has their way, but we want to be that comfort place for the brokers.
Welcome to Powerhouse, where we interview the biggest names in housing and ask them about their strategy for growth. I'm Diego Sanchez, president of HousingWire, and we are actually recording live in person, which is amazing, from our Housing Economics Summit. And my guest today is Suzy Lindblom, who is the relatively new COO of Sierra Pacific Mortgage. Suzy, it's so great to have you on the show.
Thanks, Diego. I appreciate it.
So for those in our audience that are less familiar with Sierra Pacific, could you tell us a little bit about the company, your product set, and your geographic focus?
Of course. So Sierra Pacific it has been around for 40 years. It definitely is a mainstay, great company. We lend in all 50 states. Our product set is, of course, conventional FHA, VA, USDA. We have gotten into non-QM in the last year, so excited about that. Doing a DSCR product, 12-month and 24-month bank statements. So across the board, all the products, we do bond products as well. So, full scope of products across the board.
And what percentage of the business is on the non-QM side? I know that's newer.
It's newer. I would say it's about 10% now.
Oh, wow.
And, we're building some great tools. We are mainly TPO. We have retail as well, but we're building some great tools for our brokers and our loan officers internally to do bank statement analysis. So we're building a portal that they can send in the bank statement prior to the loan and get the income calculation from it. So great products coming out.
It's a really interesting product for this higher for longer rate environment.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So you joined the company as COO about 3 months ago.
Yes.
So you're still relatively new. What excited you about Sierra Pacific as a company and your role?
It's interesting how I came to Sierra Pacific is, as we were talking earlier, I've been in the business a long time, and about a year and a half ago, I thought, well, I might step back and just consult and semi-retire.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't work out. I actually was working about 60 to 70 hours a week consulting.
Oh, wow. Probably working even harder.
Yes. And Sierra was one of my clients. And so the more I worked with them, I think I'm really lucky. How many people get to try on their company for 6 months before they decide to go with them? And the more I worked with Sierra, I loved the company. It was a great company, great leadership. And, Jay Permisco and I have known each other for a while, and he kept asking me to, why don't you just come on? Why don't you just come on? And so in November, we decided I was just going to come on to Sierra and come on as their chief operating officer.
That's so interesting. That's actually my path at HousingWire.
Okay.
I consulted for HousingWire for 5 or 6 months, and then Clayton was like, okay,
yeah,
it's time. It's time for this to be full time.
You get to try on the company. It's great.
It's great for both sides.
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. So you've been there 3 months. What has surprised you about the company in those first 3 months?
It's a little of what I was saying is the partnership and the among the executives, and with the company, even with operations and sales. You always hear about that conflict with operations and sales. You don't have that at Sierra. You have, it really is. You say that in a lot of companies, it's like family, but at Sierra, it really is like family. And, we have a common goal to make Sierra the best and to really serve our customers. And everybody is looking for new ways to make us better, make our products better, make our process better. And so it's a continuing partnership. And again, you hear that with a lot of companies. And as I said, I've been in the industry for a while. You very rarely find it as well as it is at Sierra.
Yeah. And I imagine some of that credit should go to Jay Permisco.
I agree.
Who about a year ago was named president.
Yes.
Of the company. I know Jay. Jay's a really good guy, but very strategic.
Yes.
And also very demanding. I think he runs a pretty tight ship. And so I'm interested in how that partnership developed between you and Jay, and how it's going these first 3 months.
Jay and I worked together at a previous company and hit it off and had a good partnership there. And so over the years, we've stayed in contact. And, when I came on to consult with them, I got to know him. I never had him as a boss before. Mm-hmm. So, got to know him in that. Had always been peers. And it is a true partnership. We talk about a lot of what we want strategically, and Jay is extremely good at what he does. He's very good at sales, and he's very good at looking at, the strategic initiatives of what he wants. And I think the partnership is, I'm very good at problem solving and looking at the bigger picture and seeing where is the problem and what is the solution to it. And so I think the combination of, his sales side and his strategic, vision, and then me being able to implement it for him, I think that's how our partnership works.
And how are you dividing up the executive responsibilities of the company?
So my responsibilities are operations, strategic initiatives, but I get very involved in and credit. I have credit risk under me as well. Mm-hmm. I get very involved in a lot of other areas, right? Like I actually am going to go out to Sacramento to Folsom next week to really look at post-closing and how we can, make that more efficient. I work with capital markets quite a bit on the development of products. And Jay takes care of the whole company, but with his concentration mainly on sales and very, very large initiatives.
When I last spoke with Jay, probably 6 or 7 months ago, he seemed very focused and motivated on taking market share in this difficult origination market. Is that still the focus for Sierra Pacific? It is.
It is definitely one of our strongest focuses, and we're actually doing very well. We have been hiring on the TPO side. We've been hiring account executives, but we've also been hiring loan officers on our retail side as well. So, we're working to build branches. We don't want the big bang. We want to be methodical about bringing on our staff and making sure that it aligns with our culture, aligns with what we're looking for in the future.
And what's the ideal split between the wholesale channel and the retail channel for you?
Right now it's more wholesale.
Yep.
Definitely by far. I think that Jay would like to get to about a 60-40.
Okay. 60 wholesale.
Yes, 60
Yep.
wholesale. Yes.
And talking about growth, do you think M&A is part of that growth strategy? There are a lot of companies out there that might be looking for a buyer.
I would say it's not something we're actively looking at, but if the right opportunity came, definitely.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not something that we are out looking for, but always if a right opportunity.
Right.
I know that Jay's been involved in it, and I have been involved in it in my career, and I think that it's a great way to bring on staff and really good, especially good salespeople, but we're not actively looking.
The wholesale channel is tough from a competitive perspective.
It is.
And you've got some really big players who are battling it out. How do you win market share in the wholesale channel?
I think you win market share by being a true partner with the broker. When you are just brokers are just run of the mill, and it's bring as many brokers in and run them through this factory line. I think the difference is we don't have that factory line. We're very personable with our brokers. I've actually been on some where we've done non-QM training with our brokers here in the Dallas area and met with them. I think it's very important to have operations as your sales group. And, be in front with the brokers. My underwriters talk to brokers. I don't hide them behind walls. And I want I was talking to one of our AEs in Illinois yesterday, and I was telling him I will be on any phone call with you, and he was a little shocked. And I said, no, that's what we need. That's what we do. So I think it's the relationship we have with brokers that are going to attract brokers to us. And everybody has their way, but we want to be that comfort place for the brokers, so that they can come, they can talk to us, and we will help them make loans. And I was talking about the portal we're building. That's to help brokers so they can get the income up front and help pre-qualify the broker, their borrowers. So giving them the tools to help them.
So thinking about the ways that you differentiate yourself in the wholesale channel, there's tech, there's rate, obviously.
Right.
And then there's service and education. It sounds like you're leaning in on the service component so that your brokers have a great experience.
Right.
That makes sense. So we're seeing a lot of the big servicers get bigger. They're acquiring massive amounts of MSRs. Yes. And then when rates dip a little bit, you're seeing them do a lot of origination from that book. How is Sierra Pacific thinking about that dynamic with the servicers and how you can make sure that you have a piece of that recapture and refinance pie?
Well, we do have a sizable servicing. It's, not as large as some of these. And recapture is important, but we also, again, we want to take care of our brokers. So we make sure that we have our partnership with them, that their borrower is their borrower. Mm-hmm. So, we work it both ways. And of course, we want the recapture, and we want to make sure that our clients stay with us. But we also want to make sure that our brokers are good. And quite honestly, I don't know when that recapture market's going to come back.
Right.
That's something that we're not banking on. Mm-hmm. I know some companies are banking on it. We're not banking on it, but when it comes back, we do have a strategy around it.
You'll be ready.
We will be ready.
That makes sense. Now, technology, constantly talked about in mortgage, right? And we've seen some lenders really shift their focus in terms of build versus buy to build. Mm-hmm. Where you're seeing some lenders that are building out their own POS, their own LOS. Some are even doing the CRM and PPE components. How do you think about that build versus buy equation, and whether you want to build out your own stack at Sierra Pacific? I
will tell you, I think that Sierra Pacific is on the leading edge of that. Mm-hmm. We built out our own LOS years ago.
Okay.
So very proprietary. We like to build your own. We have our own POS, our own LOS. We do work with a lot of vendors also, mm-hmm. and bring them in. This portal I was talking about is a build your own. So we had an opportunity. We actually looked at a couple of vendors and decided to go and build our own. So we are very much a build your own, and have been, with vendors coming on, and helping us out. There's some things that we don't build. So we look at it both ways, but I would say you're looking 75% build your own.
Wow. And so does that mean an onshore tech team, offshore tech team, combination of those two things?
Right now it's all onshore.
Okay.
And, our CIO he's been with Sierra for a long time. And I will tell you, our Express loan is what we call it, mm-hmm. is probably one of the best systems I've seen. And I've worked with all of them. And Express loan is really, really top of the line.
And how are you thinking about and integrating artificial intelligence into that picture? Because you talk to some lenders and some technology companies, and they're thinking that processors and some other parts of the operations chain are going to be much less needed.
I always find that interesting. So number one, to answer your first question, we have actually made a sizable investment into working with an AI company. Mm-hmm. And so we are very much into looking at agentic AI. And I smiled because I remember when DU came out, everybody said underwriters are going to go away.
Yep.
I don't think the human is ever going to go away. I think that there will always be the need. I think of AI, I'm a very big AI component. And I think AI will bring a quickness to our process. But I think you're always going to need human intervention. So I don't think that it's going to do away with the processor job or the underwriter job. I think that it will enhance that job and it will become more specialized. You won't need as many, but I think you'll need them. And that's kind of the method that we're going is, it's where you have an assistant, an AI assistant helping you with your job.
So we're here at the Housing Economics Summit where so far we're hearing kind of a mixed picture about 2025.
Yeah.
There are some things that look good, like rising inventory.
Right.
There are some things that look not so good, like mortgage rates.
Right.
How are you thinking about 2025 and positioning Sierra Pacific so that no matter what happens with things that we can't really control,
Right.
Sierra Pacific is going to be successful?
I actually think that we're well on our way. We have been really working hard to set ourselves up for the market, quite honestly, going up or down. And, you have to be nimble. And, so we're setting that foundation that we can be very nimble up and down, working with, making sure that we have the adequate people staffed to do what we need. We are laying the groundwork for a lot of new initiatives and making that process smoother. And then we're also working with offshore, which is easier to bring up or down as you need.
Yep. That makes a ton of sense. Well, Suzy, this has been great. I'm so glad we had a chance to do this in person.
Well, thank
It's
you. Me
always
too.
Great. And great to meet you in person
Yes,
as well.
you too.
Yep.
You too. Thank you for inviting me.
Yep.